Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you for joining us at Hairdressing Live. Today, we are joined by two incredible hairdressers, educators. Welcome to the show, guys, Cole and Paul Thompson. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Hi.
Thank you.
I would like to start off with, if you could tell our viewers a little bit about you both, and a little bit about your brand and about the salon that you currently are running.
Yeah, sure. Do you mind if I start, Paul? Is that okay?
Of course.
I'm used to you starting, Cole, don't worry.
The older brother, is it? Starting first.
Yeah. Exactly. 7 minutes different, and I never let him forget it. But so my name's Cole Thompson. I originally a hairstylist, now full-time educator. I live in Los Angeles, California, which is where our company is based, our company Elevation H. So we travel and teach all over the world. We design training programs and support systems for like apprenticeship programs globally as well. I originally got my start by working for Sassoons in the UK. That's how I actually ended up moving over to the US. I was originally went to be the creative director of our Boston salon, and then over to the school in Santa Monica. And then that's kind of how I ended up being and staying over here. I've been into full-time education now for the past 12 years, and our company Elevation H was formed in 2015. And as I say, we've kind of gone global since then. So I kind of run the company from the US standpoint, and then Paul runs our salon and then the education department in the UK as well.
I've been running the salon for 11 years. And obviously that's kind of how I got involved with Elevation H, is when we wanted to especially branch out to the UK. Apprenticeships is huge over here. And the problems I was receiving running the salon was, you know, the progression from school into salon floor. We felt like not necessarily the system was failing, but as a salon owner being busy, it was a struggle to get them ready for the salon floor. So Elevation H UK was certainly born around really promoting the progression alongside the apprenticeship roles. Isn't that right, Cole?
I mean, can I just ask you there as well? I mean, you've both gone into hairdressing. I'm going to go a little bit further back. When did you, and why did you want to become hairdressers?
Yeah, very similar. I mean, we're identical twins. I know I eat a lot more than Paul eats, so I'm sure the viewers can probably tell that. I've definitely turned much more American since being here. No offense to any Americans listening, but the food's great. But yeah, we're 7 minutes apart, so identical twins. We into the same things. I got into it probably maybe 3 to 6 months before Paul. We wanted to be soccer players, football players, but it turns out you got to be pretty good to be a professional. Nobody told me that, right? So it was just random, really. We were looking for work, looking for jobs. We got into it at 16, started in the apprenticeship program, kind of fell in love with it straight away. So I started, loved it. Paul saw how happy I was, and he kind of just came to the salon one day, fell in love with it, and kind of the journey started really, right, Paul? That's kind of how it figured out.
And where did it all start, can I ask? What salon was that?
This was in the north of England. We grew up in a little town called Chorley, which is close to Preston, Bolton, close to like Manchester, Liverpool area. And we just kind of started in a local college, and they got us an apprenticeship program at a salon called North Courts in town, which was kind of the most popular salon in town at the time.
Okay.
And then it just kind of went from there, and the salon was fantastic, good training program, really good people. So, and then we both fell in love with it from there, and kind of went off on our separate journeys after about 2 years of doing that.
Okay. And what was it about the hairdressing that you actually really loved? Was it the environment? Was it the creativity? What was it exactly that you really enjoyed?
Cool. Personally, it was about the people. I've always really enjoyed talking to people, meeting new people. And then really the idea of being able to meet somebody different almost every hour. And then also for me, you get to learn different trades, what people are all about every hour. So for me, it's like, it's constantly learning. So the people aspect of it is definitely the tick in the box for me. And it always has been since a young age.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So where did it go from there? So you both went separate ways. Where did you pivot away from each other? When, and like, did you go to another salon? How did that transpire, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, sure. So once we kind of completed the apprenticeship program, originally in the town we were working at, we both knew we were serious about this. You know, I think we're just, I suppose, the type of people, if we're going to do something, we try as much as possible to commit and go all in. So I'll never forget as a kid doing like Christmas shopping in Manchester. And I always remember walking past with my mum, Sassoon's in Manchester, and it's this 2-story glass front, beautiful building. And at the time, I didn't really know what it was when I was a kid, but I remember thinking that looks like a really cool place to work. And then when we became hairstylists going into the city, I always looked at it, and truthfully, I didn't really understand the effect or the influence that Sassoon had on the industry. I just knew that it looked like a cool place to work. So applied for the job, and then when they turned me down for about 6 months, 9 months, something like that, and I kept on asking. And then when I went in to do the trade test and got the job, I suddenly realized exactly what it is, and the effect and the history of the company. So that's the route I went. I went to work for Sassoon's, which was obviously big on education support and a lot of structure. And then around the same time, Paul's been much more, I suppose, progressive in entrepreneurship and getting into businesses. So Paul went from there. And if you want to talk about that a little bit, Paul, about starting a business and stuff.
Yeah, not a problem. I think when we was younger, we always knew we were going to eventually end up working together one way or another. So I suppose the idea was that we could branch off and learn 2 completely different aspects of the business and the industry. So I ended up getting my own salon, learning a lot from my original first employer. We've had the salon for 11 years. We've got 2 branches now, constantly growing. Also had a pub and a nightclub over the years. So any service industry, I've always wanted to kind of learn and take things from. So that was kind of how I went through it. And then ideally now coming back together with Elevation H, it's about not only growing the education side, but also the business. You know, we've got to try and take both aspects extremely seriously.
I think you can only grow businesses with a level of education implemented into that anyway, some form of structure, right? Yeah. Can I just say, so, I mean, Paul, you went from a stylist at this point, you're a stylist, obviously, on the floor, how many years?
Well, I was about 9 years in when I got
9 years in, before you opened up your salon, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, well done. That's very good. And what age were you then when you first opened?
Well, I'm 36 now, so what, 11 years ago. So like, you know, mid-20s, so something like that. So relatively young, but just ambitious. You know, I always felt I've always had ideas of how I would like a salon to be run, or how staff would, if I was the owner, how I would like to treat my staff. And I just felt that I got really good results from that, implementing how I felt you should be run and how people should be made to feel, you know, when being employed. So it's so far so good.
So how would you, what is your brand about? What is the salon about, if you don't mind me asking? If you can hone in on the business side of things, and just to give my viewers a little bit of perspective, a bit of framework around the business side of things.
I would say I've built the business around being a home away from home for the customers and for the stylists. I've never really wanted to go down the road of being super, super pricey with, you know, I've always wanted it to be a case of our door is open and welcome to absolutely everybody. I feel, again, it's about the people, it's about the experience. That being said, we still tick the boxes on amazing haircuts, amazing consultation, great service, but for a little bit more of an affordable price. You know, we come from a very humble background, so I felt that was more closer to my heart than maybe the high end was. So we're very close to where we grew up in the salon. Everybody who comes in, you know, knows us in the street. So that was my main aim, really. Even as we've grown and got more members of staff on board, it was always the same of, this is our culture, but also welcome to the family, more kind of thing.
Okay, great. How many employees do you have?
There's 14 of us now.
14, wonderful. 14. Through the 2 salons.
Yeah. We got the second site due to COVID. We was a little bit worried of maybe the bubbles and, you know, maybe 1 or 2 being off, so we were all off. So we spread across the 2 sites, mainly for safety, and then to be able to keep the train moving really through that difficult period.
Yeah,
excellent. Look, can you just, sorry there, Cole, if you could explain to me as well, just to give me some understanding. So you were qualified before moving to Sassoons. I just wanted to get an understanding here. So you qualified maybe 2, 3 years, 4, 5, or 8 years? How long were you qualified for in the other salon?
Almost once I'd finished the apprenticeship program, really, I kind of did maybe 6 months, 9 months behind the chair, something like that, and then just started to apply, and it probably took another 6 to 9 months to eventually get the job. And then it was straight into what we call like the Vardering program, which is like full-time training, 5 days a week, 3 models a day, which was extremely intense. And at that stage, I specialized in only hair cutting. So I kind of gave up coloring at that point and just went in specifically to hair cutting. And again, it was great. It was extremely intense. When I first started it, it was something that I thought I can't do this. This is too much. And then the more you get into it and I push myself, and it's amazing what you can achieve if you really sort of work hard and show up and I suppose fight for adversity a little bit. And it was great. It was one of the best things I've ever done in the industry is that training program. I'm working with that particular company for sure.
What did it mean to you to be employed there? And actually, and again, what did it add to you as a stylist at that given point? What did it really do for you? I mean, Vardering, and explain the Vardering program. I mean, I know the Vardering program because we did something similar in Tony and Guy. I mean, my background is Tony and Guy, so it was a similar sort of ethos there. Tell our viewers a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
It's well, it's very intense, and it's certainly not. It's not something you can kind of approach halfway. You've got to go for it. So it's full time, 5 days a week, training. 8 hours a day. So you're expected, they give you a couple of weeks to figure it out, but then you're expected to have 3 models a day, 5 days a week for haircuts. So it's out in the streets, hustling, asking people, and that teaches you how to sell in a way, sell yourself and convince people to come to see you. And obviously convincing somebody to come and get a haircut with you when you're telling them that you're not very good because you're training, right, it can be quite hard. So I think the main thing that I got from that is structure, huge amounts of structure, but mainly confidence, like self-confidence, whether it be in my work, but mainly as a person, as a stylist, confident to communicate to people. So I ended up finishing that not just with, I suppose, a high level of technical ability, but I would say what succeeded all of that was a level of self-confidence, and communication was huge after that.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, I think Vilas soon led the way on many levels through education, but they honed in on technique and really blew it up, I think, and really emphasized on those areas where they took the technique and started creating lots of different techniques, and just, I mean, I think it opened the door to a structure, a template structure to creating at the end amazing hairdressers. And I thought it was very valuable. I think it's still the way that people still teach today. And even, Tony and Guy came along shortly after that, and they became another massive education body. Different brand, it was like Gucci, Prada type of thing. They're a different look, but same sort of ethos, same sort of fundamentals behind the education structure to grow business. Ultimately, is to grow business is exactly what Paul was saying there earlier on. Yeah. How do you grow business is through great communication, through education,
Yeah, definitely. And just to add on to that a little bit, especially we've been in the US and we travel every single weekend to different cities, different states. We go into salons, schools, barbershops. And to touch on that, if you think about any long-lasting sort of like business or institution in our industry, so whether it's Sassoon, Tony and Guy, Paul Mitchell, Educator, what they've managed to do beautifully is create a structure, processes, ways that you come in, everybody gets trained to a certain level and consistency. And regardless if your salon has 5 people or 500, if you have systems in place and a certain level of expectations and training programs, that's the best and easiest way to grow and scale a business. And that's the area that we specifically focus on in our education department, is systems, processes. We kind of take the guesswork out of education and create cultures for people, which is fantastic.
Tell me a little bit about that. You know, the Elevation H is a education that people can. You work with salons, you work with education institutions, schools. It's almost like bespoke education, isn't it, of some sort? Could you expand on that a little bit more so you can tell me a little bit more about that? And I would like to, I mean, obviously wanted to come to this, but I would like to dig a little bit deeper on a couple of areas, but we can come to that in a few moments, like consultation and technique, technical ability. And I kind of want to ask you a few more business questions as well, Paul, as well. So, but before we get there, if you could explain a little bit about Elevation H and how did it come about? And why did you want to come about? Why did you want to, you know, you came from an amazing education institution. Were you inspired by that and you wanted to create your own? Is that the way that you wanted to evolve and progress forward?
Yeah, definitely. So at the time, we started Elevation H now 2015. So at the time, I was running a department for students called School Connection, which is like a training support program, really, that gets introduced into like schools. So whether it's like colleges in the UK and in the US, it's schools where students don't really do apprenticeships quite as often. They mainly go to school full time. So I was running a department for students doing that. And we were actually flying all over the world. We went out to South Korea, we were in Australia, everywhere doing this. And naturally, the business owners would always take us out for dinner and we'd speak about the business, and they would ask, they'd be like, the program's great, which is, the program's phenomenal. I'm not sure if it's still in existence, but the program's great. But the business owners would ask, can we have like weekly phone calls? Can we have a very specific, broken down, bespoke curriculum? And they would ask for little details that added on to the program, where at the time we just didn't have the time and infrastructure to do that. So I got asked this for 3 or 4 years constantly. So eventually I spoke to Paul and found out what problems he was having in his business as well. And so we just designed a company that specifically focused on that. And similar to what Paul mentioned earlier, that his salon is for everybody. His salon is like the home away from home. What we wanted to create with our education is, first of all, to take the guesswork out of education. So again, regardless of who you're teaching, whether they're, you know, from day one to a very experienced stylist, our education is very simple, effective, and very easy to use and replicate quickly. And then also what we wanted to do is take assistants or trainees and make them profitable and comfortable to deal with anything as quickly as possible. And our education is broken down really, really simply. And our focus really is behind the chair and in the salon. So our techniques, even though they're very technical, they're really, really, really easy and simple to use right now. So that's what I know we'll get onto it in our class, but the stuff that we show and focus on is for everybody, regardless if you've been behind the chair for 2 weeks, 20 years. It's almost like the people's education, if that makes sense.
There's lots of different people that come through different hairdressers, and I will say at all different levels. And through education, I mean, I'm sure you will agree with, you will have some sort of gripes yourself with the different levels. And through education, people adapt and evolve differently. They take in information differently. Some people have to work a little bit harder than others. What type of education is it that can be translated and adapted quite quickly for those people that can't learn as quick? Does that make sense? Is it broken down? How do you break it down for them to basically understand it easier, better? Is that?
Yeah, for sure. Great question. So when we first started the company, we again, this is a good few years ago, we created like a technical training manual which focused on cutting and coloring, and we've adapted that now, and it's all digital and online, and we've got videos and quizzes and all that kind of stuff. But we break everything down to how, why, and then the look. So how to do it, you know, where to stand, hand position, body position.
Yeah.
Why to do it, so whether it's to control a growth pattern, to make the hair look thicker, fuller, stronger, and then we have a look, so what it will specifically look like. So if you do this and you follow these steps, it's going to look hard or soft or broken. And we make all of our techniques, or we've slightly altered the names of our techniques to be visual, so that all of our communication and language is language that a customer, meaning somebody sat in your chair, will understand. So when we teach people and when people read our books or watch our videos, the language that they're listening to can be directly translated and spoken to the customer for them to understand. So for example, would you like your hair to be flat, or would you like to have some volume? Traditionally, a client doesn't really understand our language. We're experts and we're taught by experts. So a client might not necessarily understand graduation, or they might not truly understand layering or you know, a line. So we break it down that we teach in a way that you can communicate with your clients, which is ultimately the goal, is to have a fully booked clientele every single day. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, well, it's great that it's broken down that way. How long do you, I mean, and this is me as a business guy now. So I've got a salon, I've got, you know, 16 people working with me. Yeah. And I've got an education structure, and, you know, everybody learns at different levels. And I just, when you're trying to break down and teach an assistant apprentice who's coming through the ranks, you know, there's a certain level of expectation that they need to go away and actually practice themselves, right? You know, and they have to turn up. They have to turn up mentally, physically at that class, ready, and in order to progress. So when each class, they learn something and then they move on to the next. So it's like a building block to learning each time.
Yes.
How many times do you, like, how many techniques do you have, and how many times do you have to go through those techniques in order to move on to the next one? Do you work like that? Is that how you work?
Yeah, basically. So how it works with us is our program. So let's say, for example, if you know, like you're talking about, you own a salon. So as soon as you're introduced to us, we send you a very quick, snappy questionnaire, and you let us know what you would like from a training program. So would you like it to last 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months? Mm-hmm. Would you like to do 1 day a week training, twice a month, once a month? And then we design you a training program based upon the time limit, which I think is very important when you have a trainee, to give them a timeline so they know roughly, based upon what's expected of them, when it's going to finish. If it's just sort of there's no real end point to it, they can get quite demotivated quite quickly. And then we have checkpoints throughout. So let's say, for example, the standard or traditional length of a UK salon that we work with will be 12 months. Mm. But within that, we have 11 techniques, which they'll learn a specific technique. And then we usually give them, say, like a month working on that specific technique. And then once they get to the end of the month, we have like the test out. And then if it matches the standards of the salon and so on, then they'll go on to the next stage, next stage, and next stage. Okay. But at the end of all of our training programs, we usually have, whether it's between 1 to 3 months, what we call a salon school, which we encourage the salon to start to book clients through reception at a lower price point. So that basically guarantees that the student will graduate salon ready with an existing clientele to be profitable. And then within that time, that allows for sickness, it allows for people not getting models, it allows for catch-up time. So again, the program,
COVID,
you know, I'm going to say that we've kind of thought of everything, meaning that whether the student is a rock star and gets through it very, very quickly, fine. Maybe you've got an assistant that just needs a little bit more attention and love and care, and they're going to be great. Or maybe you've got an assistant, which sometimes happens, that it's probably not going to work out for them. So again, we can set things and systems in place for each salon to be able to move people along if they're not going to work out, and also give them a little bit more time.
My thought process is as well that whether you agree with me in this, but I truly believe that hairdressing is about experience as well. It's about gathering experience. I mean, it's like, go and cut that head of hair, do it like this, or highlight that. And then you pick up a tail comb, or you pick up a pair of scissors, and it all feels foreign. And it's like, it feels foreign for a period of time. And it's like foreign. I mean, and I always analyze this as in, if you are a pilot, you want to fly a plane, there's a certain level of hours. You can maybe learn how to take off, you land, but you're required to do over 1,000 hours to become a commercial airline pilot, right? Mm-hmm. And I always think to myself, okay, so if you want to take that analogy, or that timing wise, so if you put in 1,000 hours in like 6 months, you can get to the end quicker. But if you put 1,000 hours in over a 4-year period, does that make sense? Yeah. It's like, if you analyze it, so the more you put into something, I always believe that you can, and some people, I do truly believe that some people are gifted. They naturally adapt, they manipulate their way around, they got lovely feeling, they let the hair move, and it's really, delicate the way they work with it, with hair. And then you got some people a bit more heavy-handed. They need to kind of adapt their way around. They take a little bit longer, maybe, and I think they have to put in those extra hours, whether it be through, if you do have a program, some people just have to work harder at doing that, I believe. Do you know? Yeah,
definitely. And the program accounts for that, because I've had an experience where, again, we're in the people business, and where people that they're just the most amazing person, that they're going to build a clientele like that, but naturally it's going to take a little bit more work, right?
Yeah.
And then I've had some people who not quite as much people person, but they're absolutely gifted with their hands. So absolutely, it's all over the map, the type of people that you're going to get into this industry, which makes it so beautiful, and we definitely account for that.
Can I ask you both individual questions? I'm going to start with Cole anyway. What do you look for? What's the watermark of a very good student? What do you look for in a student, and you believe that person, that mindset of a person, is this person, this girl, this boy is going to be really, really good?
Questions, for sure. Questions. I remember, especially in my earlier days of education, I used to hope that they wouldn't ask why. I used to just, because I didn't know quite as much. And I think when you're a teacher, you teach yourself over and over and over again. I think the best way to learn is by teaching, for sure. And I remember in my earlier days when I first started getting into teaching, I'd say, okay, do this, stand here. And I would just hope that they just did it, and not say, well, why? Why am I standing here? Why do you want me to have my hands like this, and so on? Why wouldn't I do this? So I feel that they're the people who can grow the quickest, who ask the most questions, who question everything. And it's purely because they want to know, truly know, and get better. So I think that they're my favorite students. I used to dread those students, but now I love those type of students where you can spend that extra time. And that's the only way to grow. Curiosity, for sure.
Can I ask you the same question, but from a business perspective? When you're interviewing for new apprentices, obviously salons cannot operate apprentices, and I just want to highlight the fact that the true value an apprentice brings to a salon, they're invaluable assets to companies. What do you look for in an apprentice yourself when you're interviewing?
Yeah, because it is a completely different side to what Cole's touched on, really. And as a business owner, we always study it as almost a journey from start to finish throughout the salon of what a customer would see. And so we always start with a great greeting, or an apprenticeship or apprentice plays a vital part in this, from either the backwash experience to how they're greeted, how they're gowned up, the coffee, how that's presented. It's a vital part. And if one of those areas are done well once and then not good the next time, obviously that leaves a bad taste in somebody's mouth, or it might be the reason why somebody doesn't return. So what I look to as a business owner is how they are with people, eye contact, being able to shake somebody's hands, real key, how they are with somebody, whether they're their age or whether they're 50 years older than them. They have to be able to talk to them on a real welcoming personal level. And then more than anything, first in, last out. I think, you're not going to learn anything in the back room. You have to be there first. You have to see how it is to get the salon ready for action. Also, you have to be there at the end to see what it's like to prep for the next day. And that way, for me, is the game changer, especially if we have a week or two trial. First in, last out. Asking questions is key as well.
What value is it to you as a salon, as a company? Is that one of your core aspects of your business that you focus in with your team? And how do you evolve it? Have you evolved that consultation? And I want to ask you the same question as well, Cole, as well, from working in sassoons, that consultation. I mean, realistically, you learned technique and then you found clients then to put those things on. So you're having consultations, to asking penetrating questions to make sure that you've got the arsenal to kind of put it on the right people, I guess. What are the core belief system in consultation?
Yeah, definitely. And you're absolutely right. I think, especially from my background, it's pretty intense. And sometimes I found myself, I'd learn this new technique and I'd just be waiting for a client to come in with that specific hair type. But if they don't, I still need to make money and be profitable and do clients, right? So that's one core thing that we like to focus on, that any client, any request, any problem, we give you the tools and the ability and arsenal and confidence to be able to deal with it. So in our consultation, again, we focus on communication and we make it very, very visual. So we like to ask questions again, like communicating with the client. So no real technical terms, more visual terms. So we would use things like flat and volume, like hard and soft, and then our question that we like to ask again is, what is too short? What is specifically too short for you? At what point would you feel uncomfortable? So we ask very, very visual questions and then create from there without talking too technically. We'll, as a professional, we'll deal with the technical side, but we just want to get a window into the mind of a client. And we find that whenever there's problems in that consultation stage, is if us as a professional is picturing one thing and the client and the consumer is picturing another, and we can't quite visualize it. So we deal specifically on high levels of communication and talking visually. Thank you.
I mean, is it your core belief with consultation the same way, Paul? Is it?
Yes, without a doubt. Again, coming from like a salon floor predominantly background, a consultation is possibly 5 or 10 minutes rolled into an hour service or an hour and a half service for a cut and blow dry. So you have to get a lot of information out of that person in your seat very, very quickly, to then know guaranteed you're going to get the end result at the end. Otherwise, if you spend 45, 50 minutes hoping you're going to get to the end result that you kind of discussed a little bit, you might end up having to cut it twice or getting behind or not giving that customer what they exactly want. So Cole and I have developed this consultation process to go into the 55 or 45 minute service knowing exactly that you're going to give this person what they want. So then you don't have to cut it again at the end or refine at the end that much. Because again, salon floor time is money, isn't it? You don't want to end up having to cut it another 15, 20 minutes at the end of the service. So that's very important. Getting the key facts in the consultation so then you can really look forward to and enjoy the haircut service.
I think if everybody should be able to articulate themselves correctly. And I think even through our education structures, it is something that is imperative for people to adapt their way around and get their message across, whether they're, choosing their words carefully in that regard. We are very busy people in salons, and you've got to get to the end result quite quickly so you can start shampooing, start the service. Otherwise, the consultation can go on. And I always remember this, even starting off, you could be in a consultation for 15 minutes or whatever. And I think it's very clever what you're saying about consultation, and it's something that we obviously install in our business as well, and we're putting out there as well, is consultation. I think if you create a dialogue, I always remember the Wolf of Wall Street, and he holds up his piece of paper, and he's like, if I teach you this, I'm going to make you rich, and it's like, I teach you this dialogue, and that is it. So he found out, he taught a dialogue. and when he taught that to loads of people started picking up the phones, and they had this dialogue and this communication and this connection with people. And I'm not saying, to be like that, but I'm just saying, if you get your consultation down and get it down well-oiled, refined, get the wording correct, get to the end result quite quickly, because every hairdresser loves that question. The client sits there, folds their arms, and they go, "You tell me what you would do," and you're going, oh, there's loads we can do with you. We could stay, you kind of want to say to them, we could stay here all day talking about all the lovely styles that would suit you, but have you cut your hair shorter? So you have like what you said there, have you been short? What's too short for you? Are you looking for volume? Are you looking for something sleeker? Have you cut a fringe on your hair before? Have you had layers? Oh, I've had layers. I didn't really like layers. Oh, why didn't you like layers? So you're asking open questions, so you get them engaging with you straight away. Yes. And I know I've got my consultation down perfectly well, but you can get to where you want to go to quite quickly, and expand on those. But it is so important not to get too comfortable with your clients as well. I truly believe that if you have a client come into you for your 10 years, you still offer them that core consultation, because it's what connects you to that client, and that client feels that they get value out of it.
And Paul, can I just add on to that a little bit as well, which I think you're absolutely right, where we work with brand new people, where again, it can be very scary and intimidating. So asking very clear questions, so you get to the end result very, very quickly, but confidently. But also we work with a lot of experienced hairstylists who might be on autopilot. It's kind of a bit Groundhog's Day. You're kind of seeing the same people on repeat.
Yeah.
So what we help to focus on for the new stylist: confidence, easy to use techniques, straight to the point. But then for the experienced stylist, which they'll also see in our class, is how do we make the everyday more exciting, right? How do we keep that client who we've been seeing 10, 15, 20 years? How do we do a similar technique, but a different alternative start point? How do we look forward to showing up to work every day and remind us why we started? And that's kind of the main focus. And again, it goes down to communication, technique, the whole thing. So that's what we're most excited about, is specifically taking the guesswork out of education and making it fun, and making the everyday more exciting. The key thing to wrap all this in is, I suppose, consistency. So again, if a new client comes to see you and they're a new client, we're excited, we're jazzed up about it. We've worked with salons that the focus is new clients, which is great. We want that client to come, join us and stay. But the most valuable people to your business are the people who've been coming the longest. For sure they are. And I think it's still doing a consultation with them, still offering them new techniques, making sure that they're very well looked after. Where I remember when I worked behind the chair, I lost a client from not getting a cookie with her coffee. And as a company, we gave cookies every single time for every client. And this lady always looked forward to finishing work, walking to the salon, sitting down, getting a luxurious experience and having a coffee, cappuccino, and a cookie. And she didn't get a cookie for 2 running appointments. And she called us and she wasn't very pleased. And she said, "Standards are slipping there. I'm going to go somewhere else." So it had nothing to do with the haircut. It's experience. If you do it once, do it every time.
Yeah. And I always believe that if you buy a product, shampoo product, it's the same product that you buy every single time. And I mean, technically speaking, your product is your service, right?
Yeah.
And your service is your product. So you've got to be damn sure you give them the same service every single time, right? Otherwise, people feel the standards will drop. Cole, can I ask you, would you see yourself as an educator, or are you a hairdresser, sharing your experiences, your inspiration with the world? Is that because I know there's a lot of people that have been taught to be an educator, and there's some hairdressers that are just bloody good hairdressers and they just love educating.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would like to think just an experienced hairstylist passing on what I picked up over the years, but I would definitely say over the years, and I would say that I'm a much better communicator, therefore educator, than I am hairstylist, right? And I've been taught by some of the best hairstylists probably to ever do it, and they're a lot more technically gifted than I am. I see some people who are a much better hairstylists than I am. I'm absolutely not the best hairstylist in the world, but where I found my niche, I suppose, is I'm very good, and we're very good as a company at communicating the experience. And that's kind of what we do. We communicate very, very well and break things down very, very, very well. So it's easy to learn and to use and repeat. So again, I hope that answered your question.
We are living through a time of diminishing attention through our phones, and our attention is constantly being hacked, interrupted on many, many levels. I guess this is a slightly deeper question, because I mean, how do you see your classroom being interrupted now? The interruption from phones constantly, people's minds being hacked, taken away from their concentration in a classroom. How do you orchestrate your classrooms in your salon and in your education environment?
Cole, do you want me to take this one first? So in the salon point of view, during training and education predominantly, there's just no phones at all. Okay. Mainly just for full, maybe if we do it once a week or twice a week for that hour or 2 hours, it's full focus, completely full focus. In a salon environment, we almost do encourage people to have the phones on and to capture live shots of the salon, so that it's just trying to find that hybrid where it's still comfortable, but they're not either being rude on the phones. So obviously if they're only checking their phones at lunch times, but in general on salon floor to get live shots, before and afters, because it's a huge part of the business now, isn't it really? It's an advert for the salon, it's an advert for you as a stylist or an educator. But yeah, on a salon floor, generally no phones at all during education. When we're doing broken down and nugget size education in salons, a lot of people capture a lot of the techniques on the phones. Hairstylists are more visual rather than taking notes. Now they like to film a technique, maybe film the introduction or the consultation part, and then go home and process it themselves. But ideally, yeah, it is a big, big problem, mobile phones, without a doubt.
I think everybody's going through an era. I mean, I feel my concentration as well. So I'm not saying it's like apprentices, it's like nothing got to do with that. I think everybody's attentions are being hacked, and our attention between like clients and things like that. Through education, I generally believe to get the most out of your education, you need to be 100% focused in them. And I listened to a podcast there recently, is when people's interruptions occur during classroom environments, sometimes can take anything up to 23 minutes to get yourself engrossed back to that state of focus again. Which is, I guess going forward, I definitely think what you're doing is correct. Removing those phones, removing them from the educator, removing them from the apprentices who are learning, or any classroom environment. But however, you've got a stylist environment, and they want to take their pictures out, and want to take that. But what happens is, oh, geez, I just got a text. Oh God, the concentration is going, isn't it? It's like it's constantly, stay focused.
I was just going to say, in terms of like a classroom setting for us when we're out on the road, and then even with I love that you've just asked this question. Just before the holidays, I was out in Scottsdale, Arizona, and we work with an amazing salon out there. They've been part of our program for about 6 years now, and I flew in for 2 days. So one day was to work with the team. We did work sessions and all that kind of stuff. And then the day before, I just spent 4 or 5 hours with the education team going over, again, like the plans for the year, which was great. And this came up a lot, like I suppose like concentration, for them to kind of keep the students engaged. And I'd never really broken it down like this, but what we just naturally do and have developed over the years is we try to encourage it to be very personalized and set clear goals. But the goals not only are coming from us as the business owner or the educator, but the goals specifically from the student. So we designed this questionnaire that we sent to the salon, and they met with every single student and asked them, how long would you like your training program to be? How much money would you like to make when you've graduated? What would be an ideal work week for you? And kind of found out specifically what makes this person tick. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And then we kind of designed, allowed them to think, we designed this class specifically to help you achieve your goals. So if they don't get models, if they don't show up on time, it's like, hey, we're just here to help you achieve what you want and make you great. If that's not what you want, like, okay, that's fine. So it kind of flipped it on its head, rather than we're teaching you and we're kind of giving you this, kind of be thankful for it, to we're giving them their goals and dreams in a way. So it's making it very personalized, setting clear goals as much as possible, making it quick, fun and entertaining. But ultimately it's on them to bring it to us, to help us make them great. If that helps, we try as much as possible to do that.
We were lucky enough to collaborate to cut three different haircuts. Could you tell us a little bit about those haircuts?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, I would like to say we've been big admirers and fans of what you guys do. I think the whole thing that you guys have put together is phenomenal. The standard and some of the people that we used to work with and even just really look up to in the industry have obviously created content for you guys. So we love what you guys do, and we really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to show people who we are and what we do.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And I think I know you guys say this, but it truly is the future of education, bringing different countries, worlds, background together. I think it's really, really special. And in terms of what we wanted to do on our class is really what we do every single day, what we do with our programs, what we do with our clients, what we do in the salons, is like basically how to structure and work through a day in the salon as quickly, without reducing quality, and as efficiently and as fun as possible. So when Paul and I got together, we were actually both out in Dallas at a company convention. We worked we partnered with a scissor company called Hattori Hanzo. They're awesome. They just launched in the UK as well. But we were out in Dallas, and we flew back to LA, and we filmed this together, which was amazing, just to spend time together, but to put this together. And in our class, we found that there's 3 core areas in the salon that you're really going to work on: short hair, mid-length, long. Yeah. So our class is basically showing how to structure and deal with these 3 different lengths, basically, and requests. We've done a consultation for both. We've kind of wrapped the mid-length and long together. So that's one class, and it's got a specific consultation to structure and work with that. And then we've broken down short hair, which is one of the most intimidating things for most hairstylists, going from long to short. And that's what we focused on: quick, easy, very, very simple to use techniques. And we truly believe, and I'm sure Paul can add to this, that the value of a class is to be inspired, to remind us why we started, to want to move forward and grow, but also, can we use what we've just learned right now behind the chair on our clients to make more money, to work faster, to again fall back in love with the job, or remind us why we love doing what we do so much. So I suppose, long story short, that's what our class is all about.
Paul, do you want to add to that? Because what did you focus in on the class?
Well, Cole, you touched on a lot there, really, but more than anything, we just had an absolute blast doing it, working together. Obviously, with COVID, we've not really been able to collaborate in person for quite a while. So the opportunity to do this while we was together, it was just too good to miss. So we had a blast. And so, yeah, thank you again for the opportunity of that. But the main thing I wanted to touch on was, when you watch our videos, we want you to think, oh my goodness, I can do that tomorrow on Sheila. I can do that tomorrow on Janet. Adds huge value, huge value. I've watched so many videos over the years that I've loved, and I've took things away, but you might be waiting a week for that person to come in, or 2 weeks for that person to come in. So our focus more than anything is for people to watch it, whether you're new and old in the salon or in your experience, and just really think, yeah, that's going to add value straight away. So that's what we aim to do. Hope you have fun watching the videos, and it was a great experience.
Amazing. Amazing. I would just like to thank you both, honestly. To work with you guys internationally is a very is a pleasure on the platform's behalf. But I would also like to say you are both the most smartest people that we've ever had on the website. Apart from Johnny Barbar now, Johnny Barbar may have something to say about that. But the most dapper, like wearing the suits and everything, you are absolutely impeccably dressed. I'm very, very jealous of those suits, actually. I know Johnny Barbar turned up in a lovely suit one day. I was like, wow, that's impressive. But I just want to say thank you very much for both of you. This whole journey with you over the last couple of weeks has been great. I know our time is very limited nowadays. We're all very, very busy. You're running businesses yourselves. So I know we've been juggling conversations in and out, but I'm very, very grateful to collaborate with you guys, and it's an honor. Thank you very much. Anyway, thank you.